will be two people today. Ben, can you introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. My name is Ben Mills. I recently joined Solana Labs to help work on the Solana Pay protocol and ecosystem. My background is kind of traditional fintech products. I was an early engineer at Braintree, which is like a B2B payments processing company similar to Stripe. And then after that, I spent a few years leading product at Venmo, getting involved in more of the consumer side. Excited to talk with all you. Jordan,
Awesome.
are you Jordan, are you able to talk?
Hey, yeah, I'm not even sure if I'm on video right now because I'm on my phone. But yeah,
You're not.
I work in engineering on the Solana Pay team. I'm also at Labs, and I'm excited to be here too.
Awesome. Great to have you guys. We have here a bunch of folks who are community managers and already working for Solana Foundation, helping us with strengthening our marketing presence in 16 regions, as well as just answering daily questions for all the communities and looking for our new opportunities to expand on those regions. And we also have second half of the folks who are Solana Collective. They play a role of an ambassador and usually jump in with their own initiatives on how to make Solana better in their region where they are located or within any other online opportunities. There is a ton of them. Unfortunately, not all of them could join today because of the time zones. But I think this workshop would be super useful for them to be able to spread the word out about Solana Pay and help us onboard as many, to expand the network of Solana Pay as much as possible. So giving you all the time that we have left from now on till the end of our workshop. I will be staying here in case anyone has any questions, but Ben and Jordan are your key speakers and key partners in your dialogue for today. Do not hesitate to ask them any questions, both in the chat if you're not convenient with speaking English, or with the voice when you will see the opportunity. Here you go, guys. Your time to shine.
Awesome. Why don't I'm going to give maybe like a 5 minute just kind of Solana Pay, how we're thinking about it, and then I'd love to spend some time talking through what we'd like to see in the ecosystem, like what types of teams and projects we'd like to see start to spin up, which I think will give you all some good context on where we think we could really take this. So let me just share my screen really quick. Can you all see this?
No sabes si eso es lo que está jodiendo al niño.
Not
Yeah, I
yet.
got it here.
Okay, great. Yeah. So just really quick, I think some of the benefits that we've been talking about that we think Solana Pay brings, like first is instant settlement. If you're not familiar with kind of traditional payments, the reality is most money moves incredibly slowly. Like in the US, for instance, it takes, sometimes up to 3 days to make money transfers work on ACH, which is the really only way to move money in a way that doesn't cost a lot of fees. No fraud liability. I think like the reality is crypto provides a very different authorization model and security model than traditional payments. Traditional payments, you ultimately have to pass a credit card number or a debit card number around or a bank account number around, which is really like the equivalent of having to give your seed phrase to companies. Now we don't need to do that, which actually frees merchants up and payment providers up from not having to worry about a whole host of security issues that they have to spend a lot of time doing. Like I can speak from experience in saying like both Braintree and Venmo, B2B and B2C style payments businesses, we were spending a vast amount of our time, probably more than 50 to 60% of our collective resources on just security and basic problems like that. We believe that a lot of those are going to go away with blockchain-based payments, which is exciting. Next up, permissionless innovation. I think one of the most exciting parts about blockchain, especially Solana, is the ability to build programs, or as it's called in Ethereum, like smart contracts that can do things that the ecosystem needs once and in a way that everyone can rely on. We think that is going to be really exciting for payments and commerce more generally. And then obviously close to zero fees. Traditional payments are expensive. You're talking about 1.5 to 3% fees in most cases. Those almost completely go away with Solana Pay. What we've built so far is actually really simple. We wanted to just make the basic things work, which is making sure that merchants or any kind of commerce experience can interact with a customer wallet without really having to understand what is the wallet, what are the specific things that each wallet does. That we wanted to create a unified interface where any merchant can basically say, I would like this consumer to make this transaction, and then whatever wallet the consumer is using that can understand that transaction and finish it. So most of this is based on what the Bitcoin and Ethereum communities have done around their payment systems. And a lot of it is really at its core just running a Solana transaction as you would normally today. We've added a few extra features to do things like helping the merchant validate and find the transaction once it happened by being able to look it up on the blockchain using a reference that we add as part of the payment format. And there's a few other things we're going to be exploring, expanding this protocol to in the future. But at its core, this is what we've built. What we've kind of done with it so far is simple reference implementations. So we've built a point of sale system that basically lets any merchant use with their public key and start accepting payments from anyone. And the cool aspect of this is they truly get to see the full payment lifecycle, where once a user pays, the POS automatically updates saying the payment was successful and it was of the correct amount. So that's a little bit about Solana Pay. Before I get into where we see the ecosystem going and interesting things we'd like to help seed, is there any questions? I don't know. I'm not super familiar with Discord, so I'm not sure if I can see the chat. There's people talking in chat.
Well, looks like no questions so far.
Okay, great. So in terms of the ecosystem, we're kind of exploring multiple paths. So we're talking to lots of the kind of traditional payment ecosystem, like big payment provider companies, e-commerce platforms, et cetera. I think that is going to be incredibly impactful once we get a few of them live, but it's going to take time because the reality is they're all dealing with their own kind of internal priorities. There's a bit of a chicken and egg problem with any new payment method, which is there enough consumers to make this interesting for merchants, and is there enough merchants actually interested in accepting this? So we'll continue to explore that, but that's going to be to me the long pole here. In the shorter to medium term, what we're really excited about is teams really building and rethinking the way payment infrastructure and payment tools should be built in a blockchain. So we're really excited to see teams trying to take our POS point of proof of concept, turn it into a real product, potentially real startups, things like that. We'd love to see versions of Shopify that are available fully on chain, fully permissionless. I think the other big need that we see a lot of merchants is how do they manage their business and their keys? Right now, I think tools like Coinbase and FTX are providing that, but I think merchant services in general is another great way we could see the ecosystem develop. Jordan, I don't know if you're able to speak yet, but if there's any other things you'd want to add to that, please do.
No, I think that's a good summary.
Great. I'd say the other thing that we're just starting to think about that we would love feedback on or connections from anyone in the community who's also thinking about it is what types of Solana programs should exist so that we can all build on them and can compose experiences. I think what happened with Serum in the DeFi community is a great example of the power of doing that right, and what type of innovation gets unlocked when you give a community those type of tools. So we're very interested in kind of talking to teams who are thinking about building kind of permissionless infrastructure for the whole Solana ecosystem built on. And then maybe the last thing I'd say is we've begun to get some inbound from crypto existing Solana projects, things like big NFT communities, DeFi communities, et cetera, We really like that because I think if there are use cases that, for instance, an NFT project wants to do, like sell merchandise to their community, though, like they're going to reach a community who already has crypto wallets set up, already understands how to make payments, probably are using things like Phantom already. We think those type of projects are great short-term projects because they are very likely to get usage. We've been really happy with like our kind of early demos in like a coffee shop and things like that with our POS. But the reality is those are much more kind of proof of concepts because the vast majority of consumers don't have crypto wallets yet. So unless a business really believes it's going to bring in people who already are aware of crypto, those are probably much longer term plays than short term. Cool. I mean, I think that's the basics. I think if there's questions, I mean, happy to go through them. Otherwise, Jordan and I are both on this Discord. We're very active in the Solana Pay channel on the Solana public Discord, and we're also active on Twitter and Telegram as teams want to talk in different ways.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions here. First of all, I absolutely love what you guys have created. I think everyone's probably seen the picture on Twitter that's floating around there with the coffee shop with the people paying with Solana. I think that's awesome. Is there any metadata behind any of these transactions with like customer info, or do there need to be? And like, do credit cards already transfer that type of data?
There is not like personal identifying information that gets passed for traditional credit card payments. We don't. I mean, I think there are potentially specific use cases where people might want to do that. We definitely do not at the protocol level want to make that supported because we think in a lot of cases you shouldn't need that. So we'd love to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, I guess. And then if someone wants to add that in their DApp, then they can totally do so.
Yep.
And another question I had was, is there like a way for you guys to use legacy hardware, or will we have to like across the board just start using different types of mostly for point of sale, but new hardware like that, or could we integrate like a tap system like with what we already have there? Is that a possibility?
It depends. I definitely don't believe that we are going to need like customized hardware for crypto, but there is like, there's a huge ecosystem of point of sale systems. So there are some that are a lot more locked down than others. Our point of sale proof of concept just runs in the browser. So as long as someone's hardware allows them to open up an arbitrary web page, it will work for them. We believe that most of the POSs will eventually add support for crypto, but that will take time.
Yeah, cool. I guess that would be probably more geared to the transition phase where you're bringing people who are used to credit cards and onto, all you need is a phone really, and we already have that. So no use to having more baggage, but awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for asking my question.
Of course.
Great, guys. I have a question. My name is Raheem. Thank you for what you've been working on. I think we're all really excited about it. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, excellent. So the first question I have is, how quickly do you think we will see this rolled out worldwide? What's the expansion plan looking like? And will there be integration with Square?
I can't speak to like an integration with Square, but we are talking to pretty much every major e-commerce platform, both point of sale and online. So I think more to come there. I'm hopeful that as crypto continues to scale, all of them will do it at some point.
Do you think that scale will be similar to like the use of Apple Pay?
Possibly. I mean, I think if you want to get a little bit philosophical for a second, I think there is a real chance that a lot of these companies are going to look very, very different or potentially get disrupted in the longer term, like in 10 to 20-year horizon, because the reality is most of those businesses, Square, Stripe, Braintree, PayPal, their whole business model is taking fees. Is basically like you're already going to have to pay a fee to process transactions anyways. So going from paying one fee to a very slightly higher fee is usually pretty easy for businesses to do. But the reality is everything that's happening on chain like really should only have to charge the transaction fee, and that's it. So we think that the companies that try to start to monetize by charging additional transaction fees inevitably are going to fail because someone will undercut them until it goes to zero.
Great. So how do you envision, or how do you and Jordash as well, like how do you guys envision this rolling out, and what's your vision? Just like, you know, imagining the best case scenario, how do you see Solana Pay being integrated into the world?
I think that the probably first step is going to be what I would consider like crypto native projects. Like, so to the most obvious one to me is like the NFT communities. Like those communities are starting to want to interact more with the real life. They want to start doing merch. They want to start doing lots of different things to engage their communities. That feels like the most obvious first step. I think there's possibly other things around DeFi that like provide like tools for people who already have wallets to start to use them to do different things. That's probably the most likely kind of phase one. I think the real question in my mind is who is going to build a consumer wallet that is really easy to use and safe. I think the big custodial wallets are getting closer, but they're all moving fairly slow on being like fairly open-ended and truly working like a wallet would instead of more of like an OAuth flow that's specific to their system. I think that's probably the missing piece before we start to see like mass market adoption.
And
I do
industry adoption as well.
exactly. I do think there is, let's call it like on the fringes, some interesting places where we'll see inroads. There are, at least in the US, there are businesses that are blocked out from using traditional payment systems. The cannabis industry is one of the best examples. It's growing incredibly fast, but you still can't pay for cannabis with credit cards, even in states that are legal. That I think is an interesting opportunity where there could be real product market fit for crypto. I think there's also examples of kind of creator communities and influencers who, you know, they're getting very small dollar amount payments from their community and fans today that like they're forced to do that using centralized services like Twitter or Twitch and things like that, which take a large cut. That's potentially another place where there's product market fit early on. So I think we'll see some of those fringe communities light up faster. And then as we solve the consumer onboarding problem and kind of consumer safety problem, we're going to start to see mass market adoption.
Amazing. Thank you for that in-depth share. And I guess one thing that I'm really excited about is, you know, the potential collaborations or future integrations that we could see across the board in other industries. And I know GameFi is still emerging, but I think it would be really cool to see Solana Pay. Whoa, that's a new one, Solana Play. Solana Pay integrated with the PlayStation Network, and like having like in-game ability to like, you know how like in Fortnite you have V-Bucks, for example, being able to use Solana Pay to like buy in-game experiences with your soul, for example. Do we think we'll see anything like that with like Sony or any other major organizations?
I mean, I think the use case is there for sure. Like, and I'd actually probably generalize that to talk about micropayments in general. Like anytime someone wants to do micropayments in traditional card systems, it's incredibly hard. Because if you do it in the simple way, which I'm going to just transactions that are for, you know, 5 cents, 10 cents, $1, etc., you financially can't do that because it's just way too expensive. Most credit card and debit card processing includes a fixed fee of like 25 cents. So basically the payment is less than 25 cents, you're paying 100% in fees. And that's just not possible for a platform to run. So with crypto, micropayments are much easier to do. So I think anywhere that anytime experiences need micropayments, crypto is likely a better solution. So I definitely agree with you there. And who knows what's going to happen with the Apple ecosystem? Like I continue to believe that they are going to be forced to open up to third-party payment options, and in-app, like building a alternative in-app purchase system that's all powered by crypto, especially focusing on games, I think is very exciting. And if you all are aware of teams that are interested in that, we would love to talk to them.
Wicked. So, you know, looking at like this technology, it's a protocol essentially, but this is software we're talking about, and from what I've seen from certain videos online, like clear examples, people are using their smartphones. Do you think there'll be a physical component to Solana Pay, like a card or something, like the SPL cards, for example? I've linked the Twitter of that in our chat as an example.
Oh, I'm not aware of that. I mean, I think anything is possible, and I think it is something that I think we could see, but I'll have to look a little bit more into it. This looks awesome.
Yeah, the SPL cards I think are really cool. It's like a cold storage wallet that's designed just for Solana for your Sol and other tokens. But I think having like a point of contact, like a physical card, would be like a cool way. I know like going into the future, it's more so like mobile touch, carrying less items physically. But to have a physical component, I think would be kind of cool too. So you could definitely check out SPL cards and see how you guys can integrate there. And then the last question that I had, aside from that, is: are there any way for transactions to be intercepted, like any security risks?
Yeah, quick note on SPL cards. This looks cool. I would say that near term, what we're probably looking at is NFC support. Somebody's already working on this for Solana Pay. So like removing the QR scanning code, being able to send payments or tokens to friends with NFC using your phones, I think is cool. And we could see that bridged in a number of ways for physical interfaces because NFC tags are cheap and the protocol is simple to integrate over them. And then for security implications, when it comes down to it, Solana Pay right now is just a SOL or a token transfer with a small amount of metadata that allows the transfer to be discovered by the point of sale app. If the point of sale app is run in like, I guess, a secure way, so meaning like the person who runs the point of sale app takes reasonable precautions to make sure that it's not tampered with. There's a number of ways they could do this. So they can lock down the device, which we do in some of the sort of these proof of concept deployments. And then our hope is really that people will make a dedicated app to run this because it's pretty straightforward to do that using the primitives that are provided. And when you run this as an app, then you can use the permission model of the app itself. And you could have, say, like an admin who configures it, and then clerks at a store or an event or something like that can be able to use it without being able to change parameters of it. As far as security goes, like the locus of security is really still the user's wallet. So users need to check their wallet and make sure that, say, like when they scan a QR code and they're sending a payment, that the amount that it's asking them to send is like the amount that they expect to be sending, is really what it comes down to. Because it's just like signing any transaction in that way. Now, in the case that it is right now, Solana Pay's transactions are really limited, but things that we're working on will make it possible for a merchant to be able to send a request for like any arbitrary transaction that you could do on chain to the wallet. And in that case, it's paramount that the person who's using the wallet actually takes a look at the transaction there. And I think that sort of starts to expose the fact that we need the UX of like how to visualize transactions within wallets in a secure way, and also things like assertion instructions that will allow us to be able to say assert that the balance of the transaction doesn't cause or it doesn't cause the user's balance to change more than an expected amount or to revert. Things like this can be layered on top of this to increase security for users. But yeah, security is still mostly owned by the wallet experience here.
Got it. Thank you so much. And I think that like we're also experiencing the emergence of Phantom Mobile, and just how that's rolling out gives you an idea of how quickly things are going to be moving in the world. And I guess the final question I have here so far, at least, is how can we support you and Solana Pay team to get this out there? And like, is there anything specific that we can do as community managers or ambassadors here to drive this forward?
I mean, I think the biggest one is like helping us get connected with teams that are passionate about building more platforms and infrastructure to make this possible. I think that we're a very small team in Solana Labs, and I think the more we can work with the community, the better we're going to be.
Absolutely. I'm all for that. We're all for that. And building bridges is like what it's all about here. So definitely if like you have like ideas and you're not sure like who to talk to or how to expand and like how we can build that out, if you're open to like having more frequent communication, that's definitely something I'm sure like few of us here would be willing to help with, if not all of us, to get the word out and to the right people.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, I'll try to stay active in this Discord, and then like you thank you all. I'm in general active on Discord, so if anyone wants to DM me, go for it. But that
For
would be
sure,
great.
yeah. We'll keep you up to date. Like we have weekly meetings, so if any ideas come forth, I'll definitely like keep you updated with that, so we can keep the ball rolling here.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I did actually have a couple other questions.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to bombard you guys. I'm just super
No,
stoked
no,
to have
no.
you guys on, and I really like what you're doing. So my first question is, I think the biggest challenge for you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll probably be the onboarding process, like the actual building of the application is, obviously it was difficult, but I think like onboarding new users, regular users, and also businesses is going to be, a huge challenge. How do you guys plan to take that on, and what's your approach?
I think to start, we're just trying to partner with as many wallets as possible, both like custodian and non-custodian wallets, so that we have good options. Medium term, I think it is something that I'm trying to spend a bit more time on to think like what would the ideal experience look like. And then once we have that perspective, that's probably another great way we can all work together is like who in the community is starting to explore similar problems, and like can we work together so that they can help us solve this problem.
I guess my personal thesis around this is that there are companies or organizations that will start using Solana Pay, like within the community, people that are working on the hackathon, maybe people that find out how to integrate this into their existing stack. And for them, it won't just be a way to cut fees and have settlement be fast. They'll find a way to make a transformative consumer experience with it that isn't possible with like traditional credit card payments. And I think like that is what could help us promote consumer demand for this, because right now the consumer demand story requires that they like go through work to set up this wallet, and there needs to be something interesting on the other side of that. That interesting thing might be NFTs and being part of a community. It might be event invitations. It might be discounts. So a lot of these companies will build services that will allow us to transform what the consumer experience looks like. And I think through that, we'll be able to have a better sense of how to onboard consumers that really care about those experiences.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you're right. Like with ultimately the product is so superior than what we have now, and business will want to gravitate towards that, and that'll naturally bring users. My second question was, do you guys make money off of this, or are you just trying to grow the ecosystem? Like, do you guys profit on Solana Pay in any way?
No, and our intention is not to. And like we don't have a token. Like we want this to truly just be a standard that the community builds on, and it just gets more people using Solana and building on Solana.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
In many ways, like as Ben was talking about, the focus is to really just reduce the costs so close to zero that it makes anyone who would want to try to like extract value from users have to compete with free, and they have to come up with a more value additive model.
Well, yeah, I think this is such a revolutionary way of thinking. With Solana Pay, with what you guys are doing, and just in general with what DAOs can do, and having like a non-profit but geared towards the ecosystem. Yeah, my hats off to you guys. Thank you so much.
Ben, are you going to be in Seattle?
I am hopefully going to be in Seattle on Thursday for Friday.
So if Dan, if you're planning to be there, you guys should link up at the Hacker House.
I'm actually in Canada, and it's kind of complicated. I'm still trying to figure it out, but yeah.
Yeah, just like trying to line that up, like if it lines up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have one question from somebody, one of our ambassadors in the chat. Brother Flo asks, when are we going to see Solana Pay integration with apps like Twitter?
I think great question. Our hope is as soon as possible, but like anything, it's going to take time. Frankly, what I would love to see is like real decentralized social networks start to form, and Solana Pay be a native aspect to those social networks.
Got it. Thank you guys. This has been really insightful.
Yeah, thank you all. Great questions.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Ben. I'm happy you found some time and joined our amazing collective community. And yeah, I'll let you know if we will have more questions from later. But so far, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day, everyone. That's the end of our workshop.
Thank you, Alexina.
Goodbye,
Good to have you
everyone.
with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.